We appreciate your cooperation. It is a very historic moment today. Members of the press, please clear the floor. Please clear the floor. Thank you. Proceedings, can I ask that we please take our seats? Do remember to turn your mobile devices onto silent. To officially commence this historic ceremony, can we all please rise for the national anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria? Thank you very much. You can please take your seats. As we settle into the gravity of this afternoon, it is worth noting that we are not just here for a ceremony, but for a celebration of African resilience, how we have grown and how we forge forward. And it is with this spirit of momentum that I now move to recognize a few of the distinguished leaders who are driving this transformation. I would like to recognize the presence of former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the chairperson of the IATF 2027, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. I would like to recognize the presence of the former Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Her Excellency Baleka Mbete. The Executive Governor of Lagos State, His Excellency Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, CON. Representing the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, MFR. The President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afreximbank, His Excellency, Dr. George Elombi. Former President of Afreximbank and Deputy Chair of the Intra-African Trade Fair Advisory Council, Mr. Jean-Louis Ekra. The Secretary General of the AfCFTA Secretariat is not here today, His Excellency Wamkele Mene, but he is represented today by Ms. Cynthia Nasibe Esonam, Senior Advisor for the AfCFTA Secretariat. I would also like to recognize the presence of the African Union Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry, and Minerals, Her Excellency Francisca Tachup Belobe. Also present with us, we have the Executive Vice President for Intra-African Trade and Export Development for Afreximbank, Mrs. Kanayo Awani. Please permit me also to recognize all excellencies and dignitaries present. There are many captains of industry here with us and members of the private sector, all protocols observed. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. On behalf of the African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, and in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, it is my honor and privilege to warmly welcome you to this important ceremony marking the host country agreement signing for the Intra-African Trade Fair 2027. It's a good time to clap, thank you. My name is Wole Storms, and I will be the MC for today's event. Now, today's ceremony marks a significant milestone as the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria formally signs the host country agreement to host what will be the 5th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair, IATF 2027, right here in Lagos, Nigeria. The Intra-African Trade Fair is Africa's premier platform that is dedicated to promoting intra-African trade, investment, and market integration. It brings together governments, businesses, investors, and entrepreneurs from all across the continent and beyond. Organized by Afreximbank in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the AfCFTA Secretariat, the fair serves as a critical instrument in advancing the objectives of the African Continental Free Trade Area, creating a marketplace where African products, services, and opportunities can truly connect. Since its launch, the Intra-African Trade Fair has demonstrated the immense potential of African markets. At the most recent edition, we were honored to welcome 20 heads of state and government leaders, more than 2,100 exhibitors, and over 100,000 visitors who joined us both physically and virtually from 132 participating countries. We proudly showcased 70 country pavilions, unlocking over $49 billion in trade and investment deals. Now, these achievements reflect the collective vision of all our leaders and institutions to strengthen Africa's economic integration, to deepen our regional value chains, and to unlock new opportunities for African businesses. So today's signing, therefore, represents not only the formal commitment of Nigeria to host IATF 2027, but also a renewed continental commitment to building stronger trade and investment connections across Africa. And Nigeria's role as host reflects its position as one of Africa's largest and most dynamic economies, and its continued leadership in advancing regional trade and economic cooperation. We are deeply honored by the presence of your excellencies and all our distinguished guests, whose support continues to drive this important continental initiative. So once again, we warmly welcome you to this historic occasion. And so to begin, please join us in celebrating the spirit of African trade and unity through the Intra-African Trade Fair song.
It's a new day. It's a new beginning. Higher grounds we're lifting up. Nothing holds us bound. Can you see it? The light of Africa is rising to higher grounds. We're lifting up. Nothing holds us bound. So come on and come up. We call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for all. Together we grow stronger and united. Paint out the sky with the bright colors of your flag and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, plant the lines that separate, and shine a light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Oh, 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 oh. Yeah, we know we got that power. Africa, we are strong. One nation to one order. See now we stand as one to celebrate our victory, which is the glory of the motherland. And nothing holds us bound. So come on and come on. We call on, oh Africa, come let us build a dream for all. Forever we grow stronger and united. Paint out the sky with the bright colors of your flag and say goodbye to the darkness of the past. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Break down the chains, plant the lines that separate, and shine the light on the things that make us great. We're stepping forward, we're rising up. Oh, Africa, our time is now. Oh, 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 oh. Higher ground, we're lifting up, and nothing holds us back.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, that anthem reminds us that trade is the heartbeat of our integration. And to date, the Intra-African Trade Fair has already facilitated over $74 billion in trade and investment deals across its previous editions. But to share the vision behind this success, it is my honor to invite a leader behind this success. It is my honor to invite a leader whose Pan-African commitment is legendary to deliver the opening remarks. Please make Nigeria and the chairperson of the IATF Advisory Council, His Excellency.
This is good. Honorable Minister, Dr. Wole, MFT 2000, which sought to reduce reliance on raw material extraction, promote industrialization and global equality and equity in trade relations, and increase Africa's self-sufficiency and self-reliance. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Advisory Council, let me convey profound congratulations to His Excellency Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumake Oduwole, MRF, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, and to His Excellency Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, CON, Governor of Lagos State, along with all members of the Nigerian government and the private sector, whose collective efforts were instrumental in bringing this agreement to fruition. Your unwavering dedication and diligent work have culminated in our convening today for the pivotal event, securing Nigeria's successful bid to host the 5th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair. I wish to reaffirm the commitment of the IATF 2027 Advisory Council, of which I am the chairman, in collaboration with our partners and the House and the host country, Nigeria, to orchestrate an exceptionally successful 5th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair here in Lagos, Nigeria. It is imperative that through the IATF, we endeavor to elevate our standards and achievements as we advance towards realizing our developmental aspirations. Achieving the objective of fostering continental integration within a unified marketplace presented by the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement. We have to work hard to keep moving towards the Africa we want. IATF is one of the instruments we must use to achieve the desirable objective. In light of Nigeria's demonstrated enthusiasm for hosting IATF 2027, and we saw a little bit of that enthusiasm today during our meeting, I extend my profound optimism for the forthcoming continental event of global significance, and I am confident that IATF 2027 will surpass all previous editions in both scope and impact. But let me say this. On 2 occasions in the past, we were not prepared for wet weather alternative. And at the 11th hour, we had to scramble for hosting community. I believe that we should include wet weather alternative in our plan for this meeting. But again, let me state the assurance that the minister gave to us that we will not need a wet weather alternative for ITAF 2027 that will take place in Lagos. Thank you once again, and I look forward to seeing you at IATF 2027 here in Lagos as we continue this journey of African economic renaissance together. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Beyond commodities and industrial goods, Africa's greatest export is its brilliance. The creative economy, or the orange economy, well, it's projected to create about 20 million jobs across the continent by 2030. And this next presentation, it highlights CANEX, an initiative that proves African culture is not just our heritage, but it is a powerful engine for trade. So can I respectfully ask you to turn your attention to the screen as we will now view a short video highlighting CANEX Weekend 2026.
This November, Global Africa creates, Africa connects, Nigeria leads. Welcome to CANEX Weekend 2026, where one people united in culture, creating for the world becomes more than a theme. It becomes a movement. Convened by African Export-Import Bank, Afreximbank, in collaboration with the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the African Union Commission, and the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat.
Let us build the conditions so that when a child in audience, Accra, Nairobi, Kinshasa, or Aswan says, I want to be a creator, the parent, the grown-ups, the village community can say, good, there's a system for that.
This is the continent's largest gathering of creatives and cultural industry leaders. Global Africa's creativity knows no limits, and now Afreximbank through CANEX is structuring that talent into thriving industries for a new chapter in our creative economy. CANEX Weekend 2026 will connect talent, investment, and opportunity, unlocking new pathways for Africa's creative industries. CANEX Weekend bridges borders, connecting Africa to the world.
Now, the vibrancy of our creative sector is matched only by the scale of our market. With the AfCFTA, we are building the world's largest free trade area, a single market of over 1.3 billion people. Over 1.3 billion people, with a combined GDP of about $3.5 trillion. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, we will now hear remarks from our key institutional partners who continue to play a critical role in advancing Africa's trade integration. I will introduce our first speaker, representing His Excellency Wamkele Mene. Please make welcome to the stage Cynthia Nasibe Esonem, Director, Private Sector Engagement and Communications for the AfCFTA Secretariat. Please make her welcome to the stage.
Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to stand on the protocol already established. It is a pleasure and an honor for me to join you today for the signing of the hosting agreement for the Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2022 real commercial activity. The Help African Business under the AfCFTA is clear. We must build integrated regional value chains, support industrial development, and expand opportunities for African small and medium-sized enterprises. It is equally important that these opportunities reach women entrepreneurs, youth innovators, young innovators, and emerging enterprises that represent the future of Africa's economy. At a time when global supply chains are being reconfigured and countries are seeking more resilient production networks, Africa has an opportunity to strengthen its own regional value chains. Platforms such as the IATF, again, can help African businesses connect with one another, identify new markets, and build the partnerships necessary to support industrial development across the continent. I wish to commend Afreximbank, whose leadership and vision have been central to the development of governments and the many private sector actors who contribute to making the trade fair a success. The participation of the Advisory Council and its distinguished members under the leadership of our great Baba will definitely continue to help to provide the strategic guidance to ensure that IATF 2027 delivers great outcomes for African businesses. Nigeria's hosting of the Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2027 is both timely and significant. Nigeria is a major economic anchor on the continent and a key participant in the AfCFTA implementation. Lagos, as one of Africa's most dynamic commercial and financial centers, provides an ideal environment for an event of this scale and importance. We are confident that Nigeria will host a successful and impactful trade fair that will an important work, which is the preparation of IATF 2027. Our ambition should be to ensure that the trade fair expands participation from African enterprises, strengthens connections across African markets, and catalyzes meaningful trade and investment partnerships. Ultimately, the success of the AfCFTA will be measured by the extent to which African businesses trade more with one another and create jobs and prosperity for our people. Allow me once again congratulate the government and people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for their commitment to hosting the Intra-Africa Trade Fair 2027. The AfCFTA Secretariat looks forward to working closely with all partners to ensure the success of this important event. Together,
2018, it was a bold experiment in connectivity. It was not only a commercial event, but rather a strategic tool to increase intra-African trade, which remains stubbornly low. Data from Afreximbank 2025 Intra-African Trade Report show that despite a sharp increase in intra-African trade in 2024 to US 220 billion from US 196 billion in 2023 and 208 billion in 2022, inter-African trade share a total African trade has instead declined from 16.3% to 14.5% in 2024. This underperformance is a great concern for us. It shows that despite the signing of the AfCFTA by 54 AU member states and ratification by 50 of them, the conclusion and adoption of various protocols to support trade under the AfCFTA, as well as existence of several regional trade arrangements, African countries are still slow in prioritizing intra-African trade to harness the opportunity created by AfCFTA. Africa's low intra-African trade also underscores the continent's continued dependence on external demand and revenue and exposure to commodity shocks, which is a major preoccupation at the time when the old global trade and economic global order is unraveling. Africa cannot remain a passive witness in this context. We should leverage the power of the IATF to turn the tide. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare for the 4th edition of the IATF, one major question is how to ensure that IATF propels intra-African trade and helps Africa reposition itself in the global trade landscape. In this respect, I wish to point out 3 directions. The first direction is in respect of the non-tariff barriers and securities concern that continue to hinder intra-African trade. At the African Union, we are very much aware of these preoccupations and recommend that they should stand high on the agenda of the Trade and Investment Forum during the AfCFTA 2027. At the same time, I call upon AU member states to take advantage of technological innovation and digitalization to accelerate the simplification of their investment, import and export procedures to align the domestic legalization to continental policies and regulations. We must harmonize our standards, simplify our visa regimes for business travelers, and ensure that the Pan-African payment and settlement systems increasingly become the default language of our trade transactions. One critical area in my department is working on, in close collaboration with all stakeholders, is quality infrastructure and standards. Specifically, the development of the Made in Africa label. This is important to ensure seamless flow of goods, minimize supply chain disruptions among African economies, and accelerating the development of regional value chains. We expect to roll out the pilot phase by this year. The second direction is the need for a comprehensive analysis of top-performing specific sectors of intra-African trade, with a view to strategically promoting those sectors during the EITF 2027. This approach will help us ensure efficient allocation of resources to the promotion of sectors that already have great potential and can yield quick outcomes in a short period of time. I commend that the IATF Secretariat, ourselves, and other advisory council members should work on this and report as soon as possible so that it can be taken into recommendation for the upcoming IATF. The third direction is to prioritize industrialization, technological innovation, and digitalization. This required promoting investment and industrial development as well as digital infrastructure to enhance production and productivity. As rightly observed, ladies and gentlemen, by several research, one of Africa's main weaknesses is the absence of local production capacity and technological limitations. Africa's lowest digital penetration is often overlooked, yet digitalization is a key factor of competitiveness in today's economy. One key issue I wish to emphasize in respect to productivity is human capacity development, which should be central element of the IATF Research and Innovation Hub. In effect, despite having the youngest population, Africa still lacks a workforce with the required skills in several sectors. We are familiar with stories of African industrialists having to outsource skills from outside the continent to run their businesses. This is a missed opportunity for Africa. Africa's demographic dividend is only an engine of trade and economic growth if it is armed with the appropriate set of skills required for the 21st century. Let us therefore prioritize on human capacity development at EITF 2027, with specific dedicated sessions at the Trade and Investment Forum. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as I conclude, let me underscore the need for tangible outcomes from our various initiatives. Whilst I'm pleased that the EITF has grown, I am pleased that the EITF has grown from strength to strength over the last years, including from 1,086 registered exhibitors and $32.4 billion of trade and investment deals concluded during AITF 2018 to 2,148 exhibitors and 48 billion in trade and investment businesses deals at AITF 2025 in Algiers. A lot still needs to be done, as exemplified by the current low level of intra-African trade discussed at the beginning of my statement. We should therefore aim very high in 2027, especially as EITF takes place in Nigeria, the most populated African country, which ranks amongst the top 3 African largest economies, and is home to many of the African billionaires, high net worth individuals, innovators, musicians, startups, and so on. We at the African Union Commission reaffirm our unwavering commitment to work in a collaborative manner with all the members of the Advisory Council to make the EITF 2027 an event that will ignite a new momentum for Africa's investment, industrialization, and trade with herself in the context of the AfCFTA and the rest of the world. More specifically, we will enhance our African Union Youth Startup Pavilion, a major vertical of IATF, and strengthen the participation of African women in processing. Through the IATF, we are building the Africa we want. Let us mark IATF 2027 a defining moment in this journey. I wish all of us a successful meeting signature ceremony, and we wish a lot of luck and success to the AfCFTA 2027. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. And now I would like to welcome to the stage the President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afreximbank, His Excellency, Dr. George Elombi. Please make him welcome.
Baba, I have to thank you for the very comprehensive protocol. And like everyone else, and in the true tradition in Nigeria, I also asked to stand on that protocol. It was so extensive that any attempt by me, even to repeat it, would lead to too many errors, which I think the governor will not pardon me for. But perhaps I should also mention the distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, of the African press, who are here with us. The Intra-African Trade Fair is yours. It's no one else's but yours. You have to find the ways on your press coverage, in your social media, or perhaps we should begin to call it your comprehensive media, because it gets it out to everyone, that this message gets to the kitchens, to the bedrooms, to the stalls and workshops of Africa. And so when an elephant is seen or sighted, it is usually unmistakable. And when we proclaimed Nigeria as the next host of the Intra-African Trade Fair, we all knew an elephant had been sighted, and a very mighty one at that. It's a nation with a very vibrant entrepreneurial spirit. We immediately concluded that, much like the Afreximbank annual meetings held in Abuja in June of last year, the success of our AITF, the Intra-African Trade Fair in Lagos in 2027, was already assured. What remained was the hard work to realize it, Honorable Minister. Someone had to deliver the elephant to us. Someone had to deliver Nigeria. For that, we required an equally mighty elephant, and that was in the person of the head of state, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. To him, we owe our utmost gratitude, and to him we owe so much for what we look forward as a very successful IATF at the end of 2027. Since assuming office, he has demonstrated a clear commitment to the success of Afreximbank itself. He did it in his engagements with my predecessor, our own brother, Professor Rama, just before I took office, and with me, myself, soon after I did. We therefore knew that President Tinubu would deliver the elephant. That is why we are here today. Yet, we still needed some eyes recognizing the elephant. So we borrowed the eyes of the Honorable Dr. Jumoke Aduole of Trade and Investment. When we seemed, and the Council seemed at one point to waver a little about this decision to host the next fair in Nigeria, she kept her focus firmly on Lagos and Nigeria. When we pretended not to see the elephant, she ensured that we heard the sound of its trumpet, and the tremor of its 27 came to Lagos. Sacrifices, very often extremely personal sacrifices. And that's a clan that wants to see strong growth in intra-African trade and the transformation of global Africa. Among us today, who spoke to you a little later, he has been chairing the council, the Intra-African Trade Advisory Council. It was to him the duty, and he saw the elephant long before the rest of us did. He proclaimed it even before we had personal told, this takes on you. In the interest of our continent, you are our continent. So when we organize IATF here in Lagos next year, in Nigeria, the Afreximbank annual meetings in June last year, which attracted over 6,000 high-level delegates. One of your own sons, Mr. Governor, your brother and your very dear friend, I know that, Professor Rama, extremely deeply grateful. And it was, after he initiated it, championed by a Nigerian daughter, our own Executive Vice President, Kanayo Awani, who is here today in this hall, somewhere to my right. She has traveled across global Africa, and it was endowed with its unique African and international character. The trade fair was endowed with that character by Baba himself. So, Mr. Governor, you have to embrace this initiative from your stomach. It's not about thinking. The thinking has been done. There's no scope again for reflecting. It's about moving, and we want Lagos moving. We know what Lagos can do when it wants to move. We've seen it. We see it every now and again, every December. So we know what it is exactly to ensure that all your peers, your brothers, the governors of all the 36 states, that the men and women, producers and traders, entrepreneurs from all 36 states, from those places in Nigeria which have become famous across Africa for their pioneering efforts in trade, those from Alaba, just not too far here in Lagos itself, those from Kano and Abar, and those from Onitsha and Newe in the east of Nigeria, to make the IATF 2027 a resounding success for Lagos, for Nigeria, and for the dignity of the African. Let me end by thanking you again, Governor, the Honorable Minister, and the federal government, by thanking you and by restating that we remain indebted to you for what promises to be a remarkable event in 2027. It shouldn't be any less than we had in Egypt. It should be twice. That year, 2027, may seem a little distant, but it's much closer than we think. We have some work to do. We also have some work ourselves at Afreximbank with the Lagos State to do. Lagos State working together with your brother in Abeokuta to ensure that something happens in the processing of cotton here. And it's our wish that we tell a slightly different story when we meet you here again, first in November of next year, and then when we meet you to maximize the impact of Africans working together, and when Africans decide to work together as they would in November 2027. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Your Excellency, and all our institutional partners who have spoken. The insight from our partners underscores a vital truth. That is, when Africa trades with Africa, we all win. And Nigeria, as Africa's largest economy, stands at the heart of this transition, bridging the gap between policy and prosperity. But now it is my honor to invite to the FR the Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, MFR. Please make her welcome to the stage.
I'd like us to go for this. It was the very first memo I put into my boss, Mr. President, and he approved it within 24 hours. And so it was with that boldness and courage that I pursued the chair, President Olusegun Obasanjo, who had his doubts. Nigeria, you guys feel kind of big for this kind of thing. Are you serious? I was chasing him all around. Are you serious? but we worked so hard with the Afrexim team. And I want to thank you. VP Kanayo, Gainmo, so many of you. They came on a due diligence around this time last year. The Lagos State team was phenomenal. From the Deputy Chief of Staff to at least 5 commissioners. We went around hotels, hospitals, we looked at the road network, we made presentations, the National Theatre team, Mr. Adelauye and his colleagues, the Central Bank, so many partners, leading to the announcement of Nigeria's success in September 2025 in Algiers as the host. You should have heard the room explode when the Nigerian flag was put up. And so it is with a great sense of humility and pride, especially after this morning's meeting, and again, a drilling by the chair, and the soberness and the seriousness with which I personally have made the commitment, but not on my own behalf, on behalf of Mr. President and the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So first, on behalf of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, I thank the Advisory Board, the African Union Commission, the AfCFTA Secretariat, the Africa Export-Import Bank, and all stakeholders whose commitment has made this moment possible. Nigeria is truly proud to host the Intra-African Trade Fair 2027 in Lagos, Nigeria, the birthplace and the launchpad of African economic integration, a claim I will proudly substantiate. In 1975, 51 years ago, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, the very first regional economic bloc and the model of all other African regional blocs, including the AfCFTA, was founded by Treaty of Lagos. On the 30th of September, 1976, this newly refurbished edifice we sit in today was first commissioned by the then Lieutenant General Olusegun Obasanjo. That is literally half a century ago. We went to the plaque and he asked me, Honorable Minister, how old were you then? At least I was born. Some people were not born. That singular event paving the way in 1977 for Nigeria, inspired by the idea of a Pan-African identity, hosting the Festival of Black Arts and Culture, Festac 77, in this very building. And pioneers built the foundation and structural frame of a one African market that we have the responsibility of operationalizing in a global era for ourselves and for coming generations. Today, as the international trading system is confronted with questions and assailed by diverse challenges, including unprecedented conflicts, we charge ourselves to remain resolute to the principle of mutually beneficial, rules-based trade. Looking forward to 2027, and as we host Africa's largest marketplace, underscored by the AfCFTA agreement, we have the opportunity to reflect on our reality and design the future of African trade integration and economic transformation. In just 4 editions, the Intra-African Trade Fair has generated more than $167 billion in trade and investment deals. Algeria, our gracious host of the 4th edition, recorded $48.3 billion in transactions alone. As we prepare for IATF 2027 in Nigeria, we have crossed the 5-year mark since the commencement of the AfCFTA implementation. Nigeria is proud to be the first AfCFTA state party to complete its 5-year implementation review in 2025, an obligation under the agreement, and we have a comprehensive understanding of the reforms, investments, and institutional practices required to fully realize the promise of the AfCFTA. Indeed, this review exercise reminded us that our AfCFTA is expansive, covering goods, services, investments, intellectual property rights, competition policy, and digital trade. We also have a focus on women and youth to ensure that our market is inclusive and to prevent any group from falling behind. It's not only expansive, it is existential for our survival and prosperity. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as we look forward to welcoming the continent to Lagos, please be rest assured that the IATF 2027 will mark a defining moment in accelerating and transforming intra-African trade and investment. We fully intend not only to exceed the levels of transactions recorded, relationships, capital, and skill, to boldly confront the challenges that impede the full realization of our one global African market. I am pleased to share a few examples of Nigeria's approach to solution. In May 2025, I had the pleasure to launch a dedicated AfCFTA air cargo corridor with Uganda Air for Nigerian goods exports. This corridor ensures that Nigerian goods exports to Eastern and Southern Africa reach buyers quickly and cost-effectively. Similarly, as co-champion of the AfCFTA Protocol on Digital Trade, Nigeria convened an innovative mechanism with Egypt, Ghana, Kenya, Rwanda, and South Africa to pilot solutions for seamless cross-border trade and mobility of digital services. Another Nigeria-led example is the Customs Partnership for African Cooperation in Trade, CPACT, spearheaded by the Nigerian Customs Service, and the CG is here in person, to align customs policy with the ambition of the AfCFTA, and is a model for continental public-private cooperation. At the IATF 2027, Nigeria's creativity, commitment to continental economic integration, sophistication, and resilience will be deployed for the full benefit of our shared ambition of a one African market. We look forward to working with all partners to curate a marketplace that hosts the best of African innovation in traditional goods and services, digital economy, manufacturing and creative economy, infrastructure development, agriculture, mining, to name only a few sectors. The IATF 2027 will incubate systemic infrastructure and regulatory solutions that unlock a prosperous, integrated, and transformed Africa, and that connects us to global markets. On November 5th, 2026, we will reconvene for the launch of CANEX Weekend 2026, a pivotal moment to unlock Africa's creative economy as a powerful engine of growth. Across the continent, the creative sector contributed approximately $310 billion to GDP in 2022, employing close to 12 million people, more than half of them under the age of 35. Nigeria's creative economy was estimated at approximately $25 billion in 2025, and the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has set an ambitious target to grow the sector's contribution to $100 billion in GDP and create 2 million new jobs by 2030. This transformation is being driven by our young creatives with the global explosion of Afrobeats, the international rise of Nollywood, and the emergence of trailblazing Nigerian fashion design and media companies that are shaping global culture. As we approach the golden jubilee of Festac 77 in 2027, the Center for Black and African Arts and Civilization has launched its countdown initiative, Road to Festac 77 at 50, and the managing director is here as well. This important initiative seeks to reignite the spirit of Pan-African unity, creativity, and cultural resilience that redefined that historical gathering half a century ago. This endeavor not only celebrates our shared heritage, but also aligns seamlessly with the Creative Art Africa Nexus, CANEX, empowering African artists and entrepreneurs to harness their talents for global markets while bolstering the Intra-African trade fair by fostering intercontinental trade with cultural goods and services, driving economic growth, job creation, and sustainable development across our beloved continent. Let us march together on this road to a brighter, more prosperous Africa. So today, let us be reminded and let us count this moment as the moment we united in purpose once again in Lagos, Nigeria, as a continent of shared ambition, collective resolve, determined to align our markets, our industries, and our talent for lasting impact. Together, we will power and deliver the future we want. Thank you for your kind attention, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the history lesson, as well as the vision that you have outlined, which is already yielding tangible results. So let's take a moment, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, guests still standing on all existing protocol. Let's take a moment to watch a short video highlighting the impact and the vision of the Intra-African Trade Fair.
This is where Africa connects. This is where Africa builds. This is where Africa trades. But in 2025, something shifted. IATF 2025 was not simply a gathering of nations. It was a demonstration of Africa's economic will. IATF 2025 welcomed 20 heads of state and government leaders, standing together not for ceremony, but for commitment. A commitment to intra-Africa trade, to integration, to industrialization, to implementation. More than 2,100 exhibitors, more than 110,000 attendees, both physical and online. 132 countries represented, 80 country pavilions showcased. But scale was not the accomplishment, transformation was. Across exhibition halls and meeting rooms, manufacturing met markets, investors met innovators. Pathways to exports were obtained by SMEs. Buyers discovered competitive African production. And the result, $49.94 billion in trade and investment deals. Not intentions, signed agreements, not projections, activated pipelines. Production lines expanded, distribution networks crossed borders, regional value chains strengthened, businesses gained access to new markets. Investments moved from negotiation to execution. Jobs were supported. Industrial capacity scaled. It was not only the volume of trade that changed. What changed was velocity. Africa began trading with itself on a larger scale. Under the leadership of Afreximbank in partnership with the African Union and the AfCFTA Secretariat, the IATF is more than a trade fair. It is an instrument of continental integration, an engine accelerating the implementation of the AfCFTA, a platform translating policy into transactions. The gateway did not simply open. It began moving goods, capital, partnerships, opportunity. And this is only the beginning. Now we look to Lagos, Nigeria, not as the next edition, but as the next stride forward. IATF 2027 represents a deeper phase of trade acceleration, greater industrial participation, expanded regional value chains, stronger SME integration, larger deal pipelines, and broader global engagement with African production. IATF 2027 will not repeat 2025. It will build upon it, and the world will once again witness a continent rising together. IATF 2027. The next chapter.
phenomenal. And now, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we have arrived at the central moment of today's ceremony. The host country agreement signing represents the formal commitment between the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim, in collaboration with the African Union Commission and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat to host what will be the 5th edition of the Intra-African Trade Fair, IATF 2027, right here in Lagos, Nigeria. This agreement reflects a shared commitment to advancing intra-African trade, strengthening regional value chains, and supporting the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. Through this partnership, Nigeria will host a platform that brings together African and global businesses, investors and institutions, creating opportunities for trade, investment, and economic transformation across the continent. So may I now respectfully invite the designated representatives of the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, in the person of the Honorable Minister, Dr. Jumoke Oduwole, MFR, who is representing the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I would also like to invite to the stage African Export-Import Bank, representing the African Export-Import Bank, His Excellency Dr. George Elombi, President and Chairman of the Board of Directors of Afreximbank, representing the African Union Commission, Her Excellency Francisca Tachu Belobe, the AU Commissioner for Economic Development, Trade, Tourism, Industry, and Minerals, and of course, the AfCFTA Secretariat, representing today His Excellency Wamkele Mene, the Secretary General. Please make welcome to the stage Cynthia Nasibe Esonam, apologies, the Director, Private Sector Engagement and Communications. May I ask all the parties to please proceed to the stage? I would also like to invite to witness the signing the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and Chairperson of the IATF, His Excellency Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. I would also like to invite to the stage the Executive Governor of Lagos State in the person of Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. I would like to invite to the stage as well the former President of Afrexim and Deputy Chair of the Intra-African Trade Fair Advisory Council, Mr. Jean-Louis. And I would like to invite to the stage as well the Vice President for Intra-African Trade and Export Development at Afreximbank, Mrs. Kanayo Awani. Please, a round of applause. This is a historic moment indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, a massive round of applause, please. May I ask all parties to stand for final photographs and just remain standing for final photographs? A historic moment. Thank you so much, members of the press. A massive round of applause. A historic commitment has been sealed here. And while this is a continental agreement, its heart for 2027 will beat right here in Lagos. As the 5th largest economy on the continent, if it were a country, Lagos is the natural gateway for the Made in Africa revolution. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, it is now my pleasure to invite His Excellency, the Executive Governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu, to deliver his special remarks on this historic occasion. Please make him welcome. Thank you, sir. You couldn't escape. Please. Please.
I think let's give them a big round of applause again. Through you, sir, let me acknowledge all of the protocols that have been well laid down for me to not to run out of crisis and to say that all protocols duly observed. Today is the day after the International Women's Day. It's the 9th of March, 2026. And if not that they had three other men and a woman to join on the signing ceremony, there were 3 ladies that were signing there with only just the president of Afreximbank. It goes to show that our women are not just taking over. They're in the position of leadership, and we're indeed happy that even today, while we're celebrating that, it's been reflective on this table here today. And that is the spirit of Africa. That is the spirit of what we've done here today, both the AfCFTA and the AfCFTA 2027. That is the spirit that I want all of us to live here with a belief and with a resolution that if we can dream it, then we can do it. And the Nigerian and African story will certainly not be lost if there's no Lagos story. And that's, it started, like our Honorable Minister said, several decades ago, where Lagos has taken its rightful place. And she had said the story has into when the letter came up onto our table and she had to take the hard decision. She made the phone call and she said to me that I'm shaving your head in your absence. I'm going to be committing to something in Lagos and you have to be with me on this. And of course I said, let's go ahead, we will do it. We will do it knowing fully well. We'll do it knowing fully well that it is a time for Africa to take its rightful place in the global stage. And if we're indeed serious about that, the likes of what Afrexim and what the EU and African Commission have birthed for us, the minimum we can do as a government is to continue to validate that. And so I want to assure you that the CANEX event coming up in Lagos later in the year will be a masterpiece. It will be one of the biggest that you have seen, because you know that Lagos is not just a commercial economic nerve center of our country. It's the entertainment capital of Africa, and we will bring it to the fullness of it. You will see a CANEX that you've never seen before, and we will be true with our promise. And come the big one, IATF 2027, we will ensure that not only do we put our best foot forward, we will not disappoint all of you. Baba, you'll be alive and strong. We will not disappoint you. And that disappointment is scheduled on the promise and the commitment of Mr. President himself, the President of the Federal Republic.
With a roadmap that is clear in vision and scope. IATF 2027 in Lagos will not just be a trade fair. It will be a marketplace of the future. On behalf of the federal government of Nigeria, Afreximbank, the African Union Commission, and the African Continental Free Trade Area Secretariat, thank you, sincere thank you to each and every one of you for being witnesses. And so, as we mentioned earlier, we're not just about trade, we're about our people. And we have some excellent people coming up to entertain us right now. As we welcome the National Troupe for a special cultural performance, I also invite the members of the press following the performance to join the press briefing area. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Folu Storms. It has been my distinct pleasure and honor to be here as the MC for you today. But please, a massive round of applause for the National Troupe. Make resilient, prepared. From Kenya to Mexico, from South Africa to Egypt, from Nigeria to Ghana. This is the Africa our ancestors dreamed of. This is the Africa our children deserve. An agreement of free trade and one market, one Africa, one future. There you have it, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. That concludes today's ceremony. Once more, I invite the press to the briefing area, where the advisory council was held. You can make your way there. For everyone else, thank you once more for attending. Feel free to join us for networking and cocktails after. Thank you so much, distinguished guests. Good afternoon.